In this tutorial in Microsoft Excel, I'd like to show you how to manually create a pivot table. The screen you're looking at has a workbook of a fictitious exercise class. We have different kinds of classes available, different participants, and we're tracking their weight loss. So to create a pivot table from this data, I need to click on the Insert tab above the ribbon and then choose Pivot Table. We have another lesson on recommended pivot table. And when I do the raw pivot table, it will ask me to select the table or range. Right now I didn't have one selected, so I'm going to click this table here. Normally you just click anywhere in the table and it will automatically match it. And I can put it on the existing worksheet where my cursor happens to be, or I can create a new worksheet. I'll do Create New Worksheet, and then click on OK. Now it created a pivot table and named it Sheet Number 2, and then it takes all the data and puts it in this box over here. So let's assume that we want to track the class, and that instantly puts my classes in as rows. And then let's say we want to do the weight loss. It is smart enough to ask, do I want the sum of the weight loss? And I say that would be nice. And now we're going to look at the columns table. Let's assume we want to find out what is the weight loss per student. So click on Student. Now it wants to put the student in as a row, and that might be a useful table, but I'm going to take it and drag it over to columns. And now what this tells me when I look at it in this form is it will tell me the weight loss of each student in each class for the course of the records. So I can tell, for example, that the Galen and Marie and Barry did an amazing job, along with Allie in the flat abs class. And the results in the rock dance were not quite as stellar. But we can compare that. So let's assume I don't want to look at that anymore, unless I can just take that and drag it away. And now I have my classes and my weight again. Let's see if I want to track now. I want to look at months. So I'll click my months and drag it over into columns. Okay, so in February, this was the total weight loss in the class. We only had one class. In March, 1, April 1, in June, we had 2 classes. And as you might expect, we had more weight loss for the participants. July, we also had 2 classes, but the weight loss is way down. You might ask, well, what's going on there? And then in January and in May as well. Let's take out the month now and let's look at quarter. So I can just drag that to my columns, and this gives me the quarterly weight loss, first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter. Let's take that out. Well, leave it in, and instead of doing the rows being the classes, let's have the rows be the students. So I'll undo the classes, I'll click on the students, and now I have a different table showing me the student weight loss by quarter. Now I can do the sum, or I can change it by clicking the down arrow, change value field settings. Let's do the average. I'll click on OK, and that gives me my average weight loss. We can go ahead and reformat the numbers any way we want. I'll take all these and we'll go back to my Home tab, and we'll put these into just 2, shrink it down there, and to something like this. I can click back on the table, and then it gives me the opportunity to modify it even more. Maybe rather than quarter, I want to say student by class, and so I'm going to take the quarter off and put the class back on here in terms of columns, and this gives me yet another way to look at the same data. So you can filter, you can change what is in your column to what is in your row, and you can change whether the values are average, max, min, sum, whatever you like. This is a very easy way to look at your data from all kinds of perspectives. The other thing we can do is we can go back to our master data. I'll go back to my master sheet, and let's change some information here. Let's assume that Marie in the rock dance class didn't lose 4.3 pounds, but 24 pounds. And if I go back to my sheet number 2, it doesn't change, but all I have to do is click on any cell in my table, right click, and click on refresh, and now my number changed. So it will again refresh it. It doesn't do it automatically, but it will do it if you right click anywhere and click refresh, and then my numbers changed. My average has changed, my totals changed. So that's a great way to make sure that your data is up to date when you change information in the table or the worksheet from which the pivot table is created. We'll try that again. We'll say Ray Smith on rock dance, and it loses, instead of 5 pounds, he loses 1 pound. And we'll go back to our sheet, and we'll refresh this again. Click anywhere, click refresh, and here I have the 1 pound weight loss in this particular cell. So it's dynamic as opposed to some other ways of looking at the same information.